Showtime 112 is a Trustmaster ambassador. Hello everyone, this is Showtime 112. This is part 3 of our video series focused on the involvement of Italian Air Force against British soil in World War II. Watch the first 2 parts if you missed them. And yes, I know that the period in which Italians operated is outside of what's considered to be the Battle of Britain and Britain itself. There are, however, different views, and if that bothers you so much, just watch something else. After flying initial air raids unopposed by the RAF, the Corpo Aereo Italiano, or the Italian Air Corps, faced opposition by mostly Hurricanes on 11 November 1940. Italians lost 3 bombers and 3 fighters, while many other airplanes were damaged. That put an end to daylight bombing raids, and the bomber component equipped with Fiat BR-20s switched to night raids only. A small-scale raid by 6 BR-20s against Harwich was launched on 18 November. No losses were suffered. A lone bomber attack on 20th November was aborted due to bad weather. Next attack came on the night of 21st of November. 12 BR-20s successfully dropped their bombs, but one of them failed to return. The crew reported over the radio that they were being attacked by a night fighter. RAF night fighting capabilities were still quite modest at the time. After Luftwaffe switched to night raids, RAF first assigned some Hurricane squadrons to operate at night. No special equipment was used, they relied on moonlight to spot their targets. Other types, such as Blenheim Light Bomber and Pole Defiant, a fighter with no forward-firing weapons, were assigned as well. I even found information that the single remaining home-based Gladiator unit, 247 Squadron, was used in this role, although without any success. As for this particular case, the Italian bomber was certainly lost, and bodies of 2 crew members washed ashore in Netherlands. However, there is no RAF night fighter claim to match the Italian report. The next major encounter between the Italians and RAF took place on 23rd of November when 2 Italian groups were sent on a fighter sweep over England. There were 2 formations. One of them included 29 Fiat CR-42 biplanes from the 18th Gruppo, and its planned course was Dunkirk, Margate, Eastchurch, Folkestone, Calais. This flight was led by Maggiore Ferruccio Vosilla, a veteran of the Spanish Civil War and the French campaign. His wingman was a future Italian 18th Victory ace, Franco Bordoni Bisleri. The second Italian formation consisted of 24 Fiat G50 monoplanes from 20th Gruppo, which followed a little further inland. RAF scrambled 12 Spitfire Mark IIs from 603 Squadron in response. They took off from Hornchurch at 11:30 and headed south. The flight was led by the unit CO, Squadron Leader George Denholm. The Spitfire unit was given the vector towards the enemy formation, and they eventually spotted CR-42s at 6,000 meters of altitude, some 16 kilometers southwest of Dover. The Fiats were flying west, and they seemed to form 2 separate groups flying one behind the other. Their formations were a bit random, with the first group having 4 aircraft in a tight Vic formation, with a single aircraft flying right of them and several CR-42s to their left. The second Italian formation consisted of Vics, pairs, and single aircraft in no particular order. At the end, there were two biplanes flying straight without any leading. The Spitfires attacked from the rear. RAF pilots reported that initially Italian fighters took no evasive action, and the attack resembled attacking bomber formations. Two CR-42s were shot down as the Italian formation was bounced. Both airplanes dived into the sea with their pilots reported missing. The pilots were Tenente Guido Mazza and Sergente Maggiore Giacomo Grillo. The latter was a veteran of the Spanish Civil War and the brief French campaign, in which he claimed 3 shared kills. After the initial surprise, the Italian pilots engaged the Spitfires, and a large dogfight developed. Tenente Giulio Cesare Giuntella was hit several times, but he claimed achieving hits on a Spitfire. Giuntella's experience was similar to Grillo's, as he also had 3 shared kills in the French campaign. Maresciallo Felice Sozzi, yet another pilot with similar combat experience, managed to chase off a Spitfire off the tail of Sergente Maggiore Luigi Gorini. Gorini in turn was chasing other Spitfires. But Sozzi ended up being hit by 2 other Spitfires which attacked him from behind. Sozzi was seriously wounded with 3 bullets in his lungs. Despite his condition, he was able to make it back to Belgium and perform an emergency landing on a beach. Pilot officer Gilroy was able to make 3 head-on attacks on Fiat biplanes. All 3 fired back at him, and 1 bullet hit the Spitfire's spinner. Pilot officer Ronald Berry claimed 1 CR-42 destroyed and another probably destroyed. He had a 5-minute dogfight with 2 CR-42s in which he was trying to get on their tails, but the Italian pilots turned inside him every time. Berry eventually dived out of range. One CR-42 was claimed by pilot officer Brian McNamara, who reported seeing smoke and fire from the biplane he attacked. Pilot officer Archie Winskill claimed 2 CR-42s destroyed. but he found himself with 4 CR-42s on his tail, and their gunfire splintered his canopy. Squadron leader Denholm chased one Fiat halfway across the channel, but then turned back as his engine developed problems. Altogether, 603 Squadron claims 7 fighters destroyed, 2 probably destroyed and 2 damaged. Italian pilots claimed 5 enemy fighters. Once again, both sides overclaimed very heavily. No Spitfires were shot down, only 2 of them were damaged. As for the Italian losses, 2 CR-42s were shot down, those of Mazza and Grillo, as mentioned earlier. But others were damaged, and besides the already mentioned Felice Sozzi, 2 Italian pilots were injured. One of them, Sergente Maggiore Campanile, was saved by his parachute pack, which stopped several machine gun bullets. And if you're wondering what happened to the G50 flight during this combat, another Spitfire unit reported seeing what they identified as Bf-109s in the area. They were almost certainly the Fiat monoplanes, which also reported seeing a formation of British fighters but not engaging them. Lack of radios seems to have been a great disadvantage for the Italians, as the biplane pilots had no way of calling their monoplane friends to help them. Italian biplanes attempted another fighter sweep on 25th of November. They turned back over East Church due to bad weather. 23 Fiat G50s, 24 Fiat CR-42s and a small number of German Bf-109s flew another sweep on 28th of November, but they were not engaged by RAF fighters. Italian bombers launched a night raid on 29th of November. They encountered heavy AAA and one aircraft crashed on landing, probably as the result of damage. It hit some workers' houses and the entire crew died, along with several civilians. After several uneventful raids in the first half of December, one BR-20 bomber returned from a raid on December 22nd with damage attributed to a night fighter. Again, there are no British night fighter claims to match this. The last raid of 1940 was flown by a single BR-20 with the squadron commander as the pilot. The target was London, but the crew became lost and eventually bailed out over France. There was one night raid launched on 2nd of January 1941. But out of 4 airplanes, 2 aborted due to their landing gears not retracting properly, and the other 2 didn't drop their bombs due to searchlights, AAA, and night fighter presence. In January, all the BR-20 bombers and CR-42 fighter units pulled back to Italy, and they later participated in the Balkans and North African campaigns. Only G50s remained in Belgium until April 1941, but they mostly just patrolled over Belgium, Netherlands and France. The last Italian operational loss in this campaign occurred on 13th of April, when Tenente Mario Roncalli was scrambled from his home airfield at Ursel to intercept an enemy aircraft. He aborted the interception and lost control over his airplane for unknown reasons. His aircraft crashed, killing him in the process. It's interesting to mention that G50s flew 662 sorties during their 6-month deployment to Belgium without ever engaging enemy aircraft. They only sighted the enemy twice. History judges the Italian involvement against Britain as a big mistake by Mussolini, which wasted precious resources that could have been used more effectively in other theaters. It's hard to argue against that. Italian pilots were certainly given a very difficult task, which they probably performed as well as possible under the circumstances. Overall results, however, were modest at best. Thank you for your time. Please consider becoming Patreon supporters or donating on PayPal to keep the channel in business. And keep watching Showtime 112.